our Masechet Oholot, Perek Tet Zayin, Mishnah Bet. Second Mishnah in the 16th chapter of Masechet Oholot. So we learned in the last Mishnah that if you have something that's berum tefach, that it's the width of a tefach, then it has the power to transfer tumah from one side to the other, from the tameh to the kli. Like if I have something that's the width of a tefach, I don't know, let's say it's a beam, not a book, but if something the width of a tefach, it can transfer from tumah, like the tumah from one thing to the microphone on the other. You can't see that. Anyway, but if it's less than a tefach, then it can only bring the tumah on itself. Meaning it can't transfer tumah to other things, but it can transfer tumah to itself. Ketzad, how does that work? Let's say I have a kush. Kush is the spindle on which the women spun their thread. Here, look at Rav Posen. He has the kush. This is the kush. Remember, they would use it to spin, and it had a weight on it, and they would just spin it, and then they would like run the thread. My sense is that basically women never stopped doing this. They were doing this all the time. Okay, so this kush utachu bakotal. You stick it in the wall. Kechatzi zayit mitachtav. Half a gezayit of human remains is under it. Kechatzi zayit me'al gabav, and half a gezayit is on top of it. Even though they're not mechuvan, they're not parallel to each other, tameh. The whole thing, the kush is tameh. He has here. You have the picture here. It's stuck in the wall. You have a half a gezayit here, half a gezayit here. Therefore, it can bring tumah upon itself. And that's what the Mishnah means. Nibtza, turns out, it can bring tumah onto itself, any width. The spoon, the kush, it doesn't matter. Half above here, half below here, it's all good. Hakadar shehu over. V'hasal al ktefo. Kadar shehu over. Kadar is a pot maker. They wrote our pots. I knew that. Shehu over v'hasal al ktefo. And he's got the sal. Sal is not a basket. Let's look at the Bartoneur for a second. Sal here means from sal. Hamot shenosebo etakdebo. The moat, the stick which he carries his pots. In kelim esel. It's called an esel, not a sal. An esel. Okay? And the esel has a beit kibul, so it has a place for him to stick his money in it. So it's more than a tefach. Okay? More could be. Hakadashu over. He's carrying his stuff like on his shoulder. He's like carrying around, and one side is ma'ahil over it. It covers over the grave. If the asal, this sal, if this beam is less than a tefach, then the kelim on the other side are tahor. But meaning, obviously, he's covering from one side the grave, and the other side the kelim are under it. But if this thing has a poteach tefach, it's wide enough that it's poteach tefach, then tmeim, then they're tamei. And that's how we learn that if something is less than a poteach tefach, it can affect itself. If it's more than a poteach tefach, it can transfer tumah to everything that's under it. New case. Okay, the Mishnah is going to talk about tluliot. Tluliot are small lashon tel, small hills. Tululiot, the problem the Kahati explains is, we are afraid that women, when they miscarried, so their child, their lo aleinu, their miscarriage is human remains, it's tameh. But we're afraid the women were, like, this is really a sad state of affairs, but the women were left to bury their miscarried fetus on their own. And they were afraid to go very far away from the city. So says the Mishnah, Hatululiot kruvot. Bein la'ir, bein la'derech. If you have a tululit, and there's a hill, there's like a little mound. Somebody dug something up and buried something. Okay? If it's close to the city or the road, echad chadashot ve'echad yishanot, whether they're new or old, tumeot. They are tumeot. We assume that there's human remains in it, says the Bartoneur. B'bnei she'anashim krovot sham nifleihem. The women there, they bury their miscarriages there. Why krovot? Up to 50 amot, she would go by herself, and then she would bury her nefel. But if it's farther away, okay, she wouldn't go on her own and bury in a tail. And therefore, since she needs somebody to go with her, so this tail was like where people would bury stuff. So if there's a tail close, she would go by herself up to 50 amah. But more than 50 amah, women would not venture beyond the bound borders of the city. She'd be prey to God only knows what. We don't really want to know. So therefore, rechokot, if it's far away, chadashot tehorot. New telim, if they're far away, are tahor. V'yeshanot tumeot. If they're old, they're tamei. I made a chart. This is a chart. So if it's krovot, then tumeot no matter what. If it's rechokot, if it's far away, at least teluliot, If it's new, it's tahor. If it's old, it's tameh. Why, if it's old, if it's old, is it tameh? Says the Bartoneur. If it's old, it's tameh. Yishanot tameot. Why? The Kahati says, not the Bartoneur. Sorry about that. The Kahati says if it's old, it's tameh because we're afraid maybe the city moved. Okay, so therefore, a long time ago, a woman buried her human, remained her fetus there, but then the city was destroyed, part of the city, and therefore now it's considered far away, or now it's considered old, now it's considered far away, but then it wasn't. So, Ezahi Krova, what's close? 50 amot, anything within 50 amot. But Yeshana, what's old? So we say that if it's Tameh, if it's far away, Shishim Shana, it has to be 60 years. I don't know why he said 60 years, interesting. Rabbi Yehuda says Krova, She'ena Krova Menu. Close is not distance, but nothing, there's no tail farther, because she's going to go to the first tail and bury there. V'yeshana old, she'en adam zochar. Nobody remembers what that tail is from. If nobody remembers, then it's considered old, and then we're choshesh that people buried before we were aware. All right, we'll dedicate our learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Make it a great day.